It's purely in the planning step of their cloud. There's so many tools out there that, automate and, make things faster and are able to go about governance and tooling and monitoring and all that great stuff once it's in there. The hard part is getting that plan right the first time. When people deal with the cloud, and that's why cloud engineers and Dell engineers are so hard to come by, good ones, and are so hard to come by, and they're so expensive because their work is so important. And that's because, it's not just I want like a database to host my customer information, or I want to make sure it works in multiple continents at the same time with the same amount of quality. It's more of there might be 100 different ways to accomplish what you're asking me as an engineer to do, and or maybe 1,000, and there might be 10,000 different directories I have to look through to find that answer, and it's almost impossible for a person to figure out the most up-to-date information and comb through all that data and research to find it. So they might find a answer, but it might not always be the best one, and that could be the difference of something that breaks at scale, or something that might be 30-40% more expensive than you need it to be and go incredibly over what your initial budget was, or it might just be deprecated by the time you get into production. And so that's where a lot of companies are failing, are at the planning step, where they throw something in, AWS, for instance, and then 6 months down the line, all these tools that, are monitoring or whatnot catch all these things, or they get an audit from a consultancy and they catch all these things that are wrong. And then they have to go back through 6 months of work, and that might affect the products they have in production today, and they might have to have their services go down, or they might realize that this whole time they did have, customer data exposed to the internet or something, and that, gets them into some trouble. That's the planning stage is really where a lot of companies have a gap today. And that's where a lot of the automation in the market doesn't actually address, which is why we're kind of filling in that part of the software development lifecycle.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, business owners or again, CTOs can see like the spend, right? I mean, tell us more like when you're implementing your solution, like is it instantaneous in terms of the spend, or when do people see kind of an ROI and some sort of lift from it?
Yeah, it is. It's basically instant. Like when we set up an account for you for CloudGo, usually it will take us usually for like a full enterprise package about a week to ingest your company docs, get your team account set up, do like RBAC, SSO, build a cloud context graph for you, all these great things that CloudGo does. But when an engineer pops into CloudGo, we've seen it in the first hour. They're able to scan through their entire cloud environment and perform like a cost optimization. Like, hey, scan through everything in my AWS and figure out, without breaking my compliance, give me a path to cut costs by 20%. And they're able to intuitively use the system, get that output, and get something that's actionable that they can implement in that first hour using CloudGo. Like when we do our free audits for people, where a lot of the times we'll just give someone a free audit of what's happening in their cloud just as like an initial ROI piece to
Yeah.
offer them the kind of capability of CloudGo. We've gone that process down where we could have one of our engineers do that in an hour. So you hand them off all the credentials and information they need, and an hour later they can give you a full enterprise grade audit of your infrastructure. Whereas previously that'd be something that would have taken a team of people a couple weeks to get done. But it's just all the research and planning capability of CloudGo just condenses that into something that, usually would take weeks or months. And instead it's something that you could condense into a couple of minutes, to get all that information at your fingertips.
Yeah, you bet. No,